Looks like Meghan Markle's new podcast may already be over before it started. Welcome to Popcorn Palace. I am Andy Signor, and yes, that Lemonada deal that we've been telling you is not a good deal for Meghan. I am not surprised at all at these rumors coming in that it's already hit a snag before it even began. The Duchess' much-heralded new Archetypes audio shows are being put on ice until next year at the earliest, while she focuses on her lifestyle brand, reveals Richard Eden. Because, yeah, this brand of selling jams for $300 a jar could be way more profitable than anything she's going to get at Lemonada, which is going to be a far cry lower than the things that she had at Spotify. Her numbers are down. They're absolutely down. The Archetypes number on Spotify, they started shrinking down. That's why Spotify didn't renew. Lemonada is probably getting her at a very good bargain. Yeah, she's not going to make that kind of money. So it doesn't surprise me that she may have been using that. I have a new podcast venture that's coming as she's out there getting her funding. And then she'll slowly forget and actually not follow through on said podcast as she works on her real grift, which is selling $300 bottles of jam. I mean, who in their right mind buys a $300 bottle of jam? Now, she hasn't actually quoted that price, but we're basing it off of the Flamingo Orchard, Flamingo Estate brand, which sells that with honey. So it wouldn't surprise me if she's trying to do some sort of really epic, homemade jams and such. And that's clearly the plan here. But let's get to what Richard Eden is reporting here, okay? Her new deal as a much smaller podcast company is struggling to get off the starting blocks. Prince Harry's wife announced amid great fanfare in February, not much fanfare, let's be honest, that she signed a deal with Lemonada Media, female-funded company that wants to make life suck less. The Duchess, who produced only one series of her podcast, Archetypes for Spotify, parting ways with the company, signed with Lemonada to develop and host a new series as well as re-release the old one. However, source tells me that it's not expected to be any work broadcast this year. The relaunch of Meghan's Archetype podcast got pushed to 2025, the California-based source says. Getting back to the story, it's understood that Lemonada did not want the podcast launch to be overshadowed by the former actress's television series, which she began filming at a rented house in Montecito last week, the new cooking show that she's doing. Netflix said the show would celebrate the joys of cooking and gardening, entertaining, and friendship. Lemonada is said to be concerned that there would also be scheduling conflicts between the launch of its podcast and that of Meghan's lifestyle brand, American Riviera Orchard. A spokesman for Meghan declined to comment, but sources claim she had a list of very high-profile guests scheduled to participate in the new podcast. I'm guessing Melissa McCarthy might be one. Guests on her series have previously included Serena Williams, Mariah Carey, and Candace Bushnell. Bill Simmons, Spotify, obviously called her effing grifters just hours after they axed the deal for $15 million. So I'm still waiting for that story, by the way, Bill Simmons, the one about Prince Harry and his ideas. Anyway, American Riviera Orchard has now sent out their influencer batches to people to sort of get the world talking. But that's clearly the priority now, is this podcast deal is already falling apart. And so, look, I'm not surprised by this. Yes, this is clearly a failure, or if anything, I think it's worse. It's just a clear con job where she used this Lemonada deal to sort of position herself as having more, pots cooking. And she always knew she wasn't going to deliver. She's like, yeah, give me that new podcast thing. So as she's selling herself elsewhere, she seems in demand. You know what I mean? Taking that Lemonada deal was a pay cut, but to some brands and people, it seems like, she has a new podcast show. Oh, Netflix finally is doing another show. And she's got a whole business venture she's going to do to compete with Gwyneth Paltrow. Oh, maybe we do underestimate Meghan Markle. We need to get back in the business. I think that's clearly what's happening here. To me, I can't say it's not a smart move, but that's why we're here to see through it. And that's why Meghan despises it, because these are clearly transparent power plays that she's done. Now, the reports are saying she's currently begun the filming for her Netflix show. Oh my gosh, I can't wait. We will give you weekly recaps here. If you haven't already, give me a chance to remind you to go hit the subscribe button, hit the bell for alerts, and smash that like button. But yes, the Polo show is also being shot. Her cooking show is being shot. And so they finally have 2 Netflix deals that are in motion. And so the Archetypes podcast clearly is not as important as the other things that are on deck, as we told you they wouldn't be. And so she has this new show, etc., but we're supposed to relaunch the last shows. And so it'll be interesting to see how Lemonada does this. I mean, you'd think if you're doing a full brand, you'd have the Lemonada podcast come out to coincide with the Netflix show. So as she's doing her show, headed over to Lemonada to hear our extended talks. You know what I mean? There's a million ways to try to connect those two things so Lemonada can still do well. If Meghan can't do multiple things at once, then why is she in this industry? It's literally how every celebrity does it. Use that to sort of maximize the guests you're having and continue to do extra content while you're doing it. Seems to make sense to me. At the same time, they're clearly banking a bunch of shows, probably a season 1 of this cooking show, which they're stacking and doing. And so then they're going to probably try and maybe they'll do more later as that's in post. But previously she'd said, I'm joining the brilliant team of Lemonada. Being able to support a female-funded company with a roster of thought-provoking, highly entertaining podcasts is a fantastic way to kick off 2024. But I won't do it till 2025, it seems. So yeah, she has a dynamic new podcast. I'm eager to share it. Why announce this? I tell you why, because it makes her seem like she's popular. It makes it seem like she's busy. It makes it seem like brands want to work with her, when the reality is she's in a turning point. That's why they've now made some changes to their PR team, including a new UK hire. We'll see how long these hires last, but she's making these moves. Former Director of Communication Miranda Barbett has been promoted to the role of Vice President of Programs and Media Operations. People confirms. In her place, Charles Gibson and Kyle have joined the office of the Duke and Duchess as communications executives, both reporting to Ashley Hansen, who remains head of communication for the couple. So they're throwing some money down with these budgets to hire staff and adjust staff. And we know how much trouble they've had previously with keeping staff in place. But anyway, here's the new people. Boulia is the new Deputy Press Secretary and Director of Communications for U.S. Media. He previously worked leading global talent, sports, entertainment advisory company, United Talent Agency. Prince Harry, it's a competing agency, by the way, from the one she's at. So, yeah, and they also launched their charitable organization, Archwell Foundation, which they always throw into all these press releases that they give to people. And, look, a lot of stuff happening. And I see a lot of positive press coming. However, we've also seen some negative press still coming, as that Samantha Cohen broke her silence, which we told you about, talking about that bullying report. That was very unlike a royal aide to come forward and even admit what she did. So a lot of this is out there trickling out, and now the rumors are from Tom Bauer, the trickle will soon become a stream. And obviously when it does, we'll be there to report. There's really nothing here yet, aside from what we've already told you. But I also have noticed other accounts sharing little new popped up videos are coming out, seemingly pro Meghan videos to try to spin that narrative cycle. So there's a lot happening. There's still a lot happening. At the end of the day, though, I think this source is probably spot on. And I think the Lemonada podcast is going to be delayed for quite some time while she actually does Netflix gigs, try and keep that 100 million and doesn't lose it and gets it renewed. That's their biggest priority, is getting that Netflix deal renewed. And if they do, a lot of us are going to be annoyed, but good on them. They'll have to show value to Netflix to keep it going. And I'm not here just to always hate and harass them. Let's see what they do. Deliver. They got to deliver, and they got to deliver value and numbers to that company. And we'll see if they do. So interesting, but not surprised at all to see this Archetypes relaunch get totally overshadowed as she's focused on jams and everything else. So what do you guys think? Are you surprised by any of this? A failure of the podcast? Tell me down below. Make sure you stay tuned for more. We got so much coming, a lot in the hopper. You're not going to miss it. So stay tuned for more here on Popcorn Palace.